everybody. Welcome to the Faith Homestead Podcast. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Matt.
And thanks so much for being here with you today. So if you are listening to us on your favorite podcast, please subscribe. And if you are following us on YouTube today, it's so nice to see you. And if you guys could please follow us, we would greatly appreciate that. So we know we've been away. It's been 2 weeks. The last time you heard from us, we were in the car on the way back from opening our camper for the season. And so life has been, it's been pretty hectic in the last 2 weeks. And so thank you for bearing with us while we've been absent. If you've been on our website, which if you don't know it, it's www.faithhomestead.com. We have been posting a weekly blog, so you can see that. And that's a great way to follow us because we post everything on our Faith Homestead website. And that'll also get you plugged into all of our social media. But again, we apologize if you're just following us on Apple Podcasts or on Podbean. We haven't been here for a week, so we do apologize. But basically, a lot has been going on here in the last couple weeks. My mom has recently moved in, so that's been an adjustment, and we're getting used to that. And just kind of getting the kids, feel like it's been a party because my mom is here, and every single morning when she comes down to get coffee, or, just to say hi, my daughter Jocelyn is like, Mom, are you here forever? And she's like, yep. So we're trying to get over like the honeymoon phase of the kids, and we've had some like nap issues just because of the excitable level of the children. So that has been an adjustment, but it's eventually she's gonna be old news soon, and so she won't be the cool anymore. So I'm just kidding, but it'll be more normal. So though they're gonna kind of fall into a routine soon. So that's been the biggest thing, I feel like, just, adjusting to that over the last several weeks. And, Matt actually just got home. You were away for the weekend for like a men's weekend, man weekend, just a hangout weekend, whatever you want to call it. So you want to talk about that a little bit? And did you have fun?
Yeah, it was a good time. So we got to go up to the Pennsylvania Grand Canyon, which is always a cool thing to do, fishing on Pine Creek, doing some turkey hunting. So it was a nice weekend. Do it at the Kentucky Derby weekend every year, so have a little get together for the Derby and have a pool, do all that kind of stuff. So it's a fun weekend, and grateful for the opportunity from friends of mine that introduced me to the whole group of people there. So grateful to be able to have a place like that to get to, and grateful that you're able to hold down the fort for a few days.
We're going to talk about that in a few minutes here.
While I skip town, and it was a...
Did you see any wildlife?
Great time. So heard turkeys in the morning, but they were ways off, probably 300-400 yards away. So they were nowhere close to us.
We actually joke. The reason I said, did you see any, I'm talking about the wildlife. So Matt went to Northwestern Feinberg School of Medicine for his post-bachelor's, coursework. And I came out to visit him for a while when he was in Chicago, because you were there for several months, right? Mm-hmm. And we were walking around Chicago, and we saw a sign on a, 2x2 parcel of grass, and there was a sign, and I'll never forget it. But it was serious. It was a serious sign, and it was a sign that said, "Do not feed the wildlife." And there was a picture of what?
A rabbit.
A bunny rabbit. And okay. I just, that's why I said, did you see any wildlife? Because I'll never forget that. It was, we're not super country, but we're not city at all. And we were, what are you going to feed the wild? People are going to show up with this little 5x5 parcel land and give the rabbits carrots. I don't know. It was the funniest thing ever. So anyway, I'm sorry. I digress. Go back to talking about that.
Didn't see rabbits this weekend, but nonetheless, no turkeys this weekend from anybody that we were there with. So
you said you heard one though, right?
Yeah, it was a ways off. It was a good ways off, but he answered us, which is always exciting. So we, got a half a day of hunting in, got a day and a half, well, even more than that, 2 days full of fishing in. So it was a good weekend.
You were sorely missed.
Sounds like it.
So, I am mommed out. I'm telling you, it's amazing how the devil works when he finds the opportunity to work. And it's unbelievable because this weekend, every single thing that could have possibly gone wrong or been, a trying situation was so escalated this weekend. I remember, and I don't want to bother him. So I kept most of it to myself until he was like an hour away from home just so I could like prepare him for what he was going to walk into. And I handled most of it. But I mean, I'm talking like our dog got violently ill. I mean, when I say violently ill, I was up for the last 2 nights every like 2 hours, like changing like linens because she was vomiting everywhere. Um, and she is such, and I know maybe we're crazy, but she is a needy dog. So I can't just like put her in a room like downstairs to like contain it. Like she would be whining and crying, and maybe that's an us issue, but that was insane. Her face blew up, her ears, like when you pet a dog and their ears are thin, like they're really a thin ear. Her ears were like so puffy that like when you went to like touch her ear, it was like touching a bag of water. Like it was crazy, and I didn't know what to do. But she does unfortunately have Lyme. Regardless of us giving her flea and tick medication, she ended up with Lyme, and she got diagnosed, I would say like 9 months ago. And the doctor was very frank with us and was like, listen, like she has Lyme now, and you can give her courses of antibiotics. How many days is it?
42 days.
So 42 days of antibiotics, and like when you see symptom onset, but like it doesn't matter, like whenever there's a symptom onset, you just start the cycle over again. So she could essentially be on antibiotics for months out of the year. And so we did fill a prescription, and we had the antibiotics, and I wasn't sure if this was a Lyme's, like this, she was finally showing like actual symptoms. And so we started her on the antibiotics, but she isn't tolerating them, and I'm giving her rice and chicken and just trying to give her food to like get it down, and she's like just throwing it up everywhere. But then I had a friend on my Facebook recommend that it could have been an ear infection. And the symptoms started with her face swelling, and I was like, okay, maybe it is an ear infection. Allergies we live in Pennsylvania are crazy right now. We didn't have a deep freeze, so everything is just going to be amplified this year. The bugs, the allergens. And so I know that when I had an ear infection about a year and a half ago, I was prescribed oral and ear drops. And so I had this neomycin blend, and I looked it up, and it was okay to give to Daisy. So I started giving her the ear drops, and it like started to work. Like her ears started going down, and I was like, okay, maybe it was an ear infection, and like it just really took her out. So she's doing much better. But that was like one thing in 48 hours that was like unbelievable. My son, he was in his pack and play, and he fell out and like bit through his lip, like like bit through his lip. And of course I'm a nurse, so like I obviously am trained to handle this, but when it's your own kid, like you just go into panic mode. And I saw that had gone right through, and I was like, oh great, I wasn't really like stressing out, but I was like, great, now I'm gonna have to take him to get stitches and all these things. But I ended up like, it stopped bleeding within 10 minutes, which is kind of like, if it stops bleeding, it's going to be okay. And so I was like, okay, we're just going to ride this out. And he's okay now, and it's starting to heal. So we're just going to ride it out. He probably didn't need stitches. Maybe one. I don't know. Who knows? Because I didn't go to urgent care. But so there was that. And just like the children were just really pushing mom to the limit this weekend. So you were sorely missed. I'm so glad that you're home. I'm so glad that you're home. But basically, we're going to talk to you a little bit about our garden and our plans, because with Matt being away this weekend, we didn't really get too much done. And then with the last couple weekends, it's been kind of chaotic. So what's our plan this year?
Yeah, and where we live, the middle of May is typically the time when gardens get put in the ground.
Yes.
Because we start our seeds early, because we do that hardening off with them out in the greenhouse outside, where we switch them from greenhouse at night and sunlight during the day. We can typically get away with getting them in the ground earlier. This week actually really is going to shape up nicely, but there's still a day or two in the 7 to 10 day forecast that are back down into the low 60s, high 50s.
Yeah.
So,
which is okay if once they're hardened off.
One of those things that you want to keep an eye on when you're deciding when is the right time to actually get those plants that you spent a long time working on, in that growing and greenhousing and all that stuff. You don't want to get them into the ground too early outside and then, one cold snap and all your work's gone.
Yeah.
Which can happen.
It absolutely can happen. And also, the opposite can happen too. If you are hardening off your plants, it goes both ways. It goes for cold and heat. And I actually saw a couple TikToks this week of local homesteaders that were posting in that they left their stuff out and they weren't fully adjusted to the temperatures rising and falling, and they just died because they had this 75 snap in the colder region where they lived, and it just took out so many of their plants, which is really sad. But speaking of that, I'm actually really sad too. And this happened to me last year partially too, and I don't know what is going on, but so we have our greenhouse in our one of our rooms of our house, and so during the day I lift the the front door flap of it, and we have lots of cool the house air going in, but we also have the lights on. Well, my cat decided to have a pepper eating contest, and she ate the tops off of probably 45 of our pepper plants, which doesn't make sense because peppers aren't good for cats anyway. So I don't know what provoked her, and I don't think it was my dog. And that's it. It's either a cat or a dog. So I lost a bunch of pepper plants to my cat last year and this year. And then I also lost some plants from critters while they were sitting on the table outside being hardened off. So that's been really annoying. And for some reason, we did a lot of specialty peppers this year. And we ordered from a really reputable company too. And I'm not going to say their name because I'm going to just chalk it up to user error here. And if it happens again next year, then I might try to figure out what's going on. I've been growing peppers for a decade, so I know what I'm doing. But for some reason, all of these specialty peppers that we bought didn't grow. I mean, they germinated, they grew to about an inch, and that's it. And it's been 2 months now. And I mean, I don't know why I'm keeping them. Nothing's gonna happen. They're not growing, but they're not growing. And so that's been a shame. And you'll understand if you grow things and you start things from seed, you put so much time and love and effort into it. When you have things that just don't go as planned, it's really upsetting. But this is par for the course. This is a homesteading. This is a gardening journey. So it's fine. But something that I'm really looking forward to is, and I'm sure a lot of you have heard this or seen it because it's the buzz this year, and we're jumping on the buzz because I mean it looks awesome. There's a thing called cattle panels, and it's when you make a dome with cattle panel, and it's basically you can walk through it. It's like a tunnel, and you grow and you seed out around it, and so you can do gourds and squash and beans, and they grow up over this tunnel, and then when they start to produce the fruit, it comes down through the inside of the tunnel, and you get this great way to harvest. And also it's so beautiful to see, especially these hanging gourds and stuff like that. So I'm really excited to do a small cattle panel. The cattle panel is expensive, but we will use it. So that's the only thing I'm not happy about buying is paying for it. But we might try to see if we can find something that's similar that'll also do the job. I've seen some people do cheaper material with PVC piping, so we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah. Do you want to mention?
I feel like it's one of those things where we might as well just make the investment, and if we like it and use it, we use it.
Because it's also vertical. You know what I mean? So I feel like you're getting.
And I wonder how much other stuff that we could start to tie in with the tomato plants, stuff like that.
I'm so excited. Could we do vertical around the whole sort of the outside, but not the outside? I can't really explain it without showing it in a diagram, but. I'm really excited to see. I'm excited for the vertical aspect because I feel like we have so much space that doesn't get used that we could have growing up. So
yeah, in a few years where we had the beans in there that they came in so well, would have been so nice to have them up off the ground instead of digging through the bean rows.
Yeah, and I don't mind that.
I remember probably just complaining.
Do you remember me being 9 months pregnant?
Yeah.
And like I like 9 months pregnant. I don't know if it was with Thomas or it was probably with both. I probably did it both times, like both times I was pregnant with them. But yeah, no, I wasn't 9 months. I was like probably like 6 months because they're both like late fallish babies. But I'm just like sitting there like huge, and I'm like trying to like wiggle through these rows of beans, but you can't really like, you have to like kind of like bump yourself forward. You can't, there's no really like room for maneuvering, especially when you're this like giant pregnant person. And I remember just like that is like therapeutic to me, just like sitting there and just picking beans for like a couple hours. That's probably like one of my favorite parts about gardening, is just the therapy of just like filling a beautiful basket with like produce that you've worked so hard for. I love it. Absolutely love it. Do you want to mention the fact that you are considering an orchard?
So we're thinking about it.
I'm excited about it. We got some apple trees from a woman at church. We just need to find another variety of apples to pollinate it. So, what do you think about that?
So we, I think it's something that is worth trying. I don't know if it works out and it becomes valuable. It is. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
Yeah. The only thing I worry about is like what happens if we put like these, because the trees that we got, I thought she was gonna give me like a sapling that was gonna be like a foot tall maybe. This thing is like 6 feet tall. They're like established, and I was like, how old are these trees? She's like, oh, I think they're like 3 years, and like she started them from seed. Like that is such a proud thing, but like she doesn't have anywhere to put them. But she's like, I think that these would be a really good for you. Like, because she knows that like we're like homesteading, and that she thought that they would actually have a chance to like, grow, and her hard work would pay off. And so we're gonna try it. But I think I don't know anything about fruit trees. I did some research, and apparently she said there are two of the same variety. She thinks that they are either Gala or Pink Lady. And so when I researched that, you need to have another variety of tree to make it bear fruit. So I'm gonna have to find a tree that is at least 3 years old, so we can they have to kind of grow together at the same time. So, but she's like, well, if it doesn't work, they make good firewood. We're gonna grow these trees and cut them down. But that's okay. We'll see. It's whatever. It's just a tree. It's not like the end of the world.
Worth a try.
So I really want to get some elderberry bushes and some peach trees too. I had peach trees growing up. They were awesome. So I don't know if they need to be do you know if they need to be pollinated, peach trees?
I don't know.
Because I think we had one growing up, unless it was nearby.
Don't think I ever had a peach tree.
Yeah, we had one growing up, and I think we had an apple tree and a peach tree. Maybe they pollinated each other. I have no idea how that works. So if you know, leave it in the comments, because we are so have no idea.
Yep, just something we're gonna try.
Yeah, so that's exciting. So just really wanted to talk to you just really quickly about something that I did. I know I mentioned it in another video, but do you remember when I told you that I bought sourdough starter on eBay for $5, and it's like 210 years old? And Matt was like, what are you doing? He was like, you are probably gonna poison us and we're all gonna die. Or it's like the fakest thing. or it's like the most fake thing, and you're getting like sourdough starter that was like made like last week. And I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna just do it. It's weird. I mean, it's weird. Okay, it's weird to buy sourdough starter, dehydrated sourdough starter in powdered form. Comes in a little envelope, and it's like, it looked like I was getting drugs. It was really weird. But anyway, I sat on it for like 2 months. It was like sitting in this envelope, and I just was like, I'm just probably not even gonna do this. Like I wanted to be into it, but I wasn't ready to take that leap, because I know that sourdough starter is a commitment. You have to take care of it, or it literally will die. It's a live thing. So I finally, so I have a women's group at my house. We meet I think it's the third Thursday of every month. And they were asking me, did you do the sourdough starter yet? You talked about this 200-year-old sourdough. I'm like, I haven't done it yet. And so I promised that I would get it done by the following month. And so I did it. I started it I don't know, 4 weeks ago now, probably a month ago now. And I can't even believe that I've lived 37 years without having sourdough. Can you believe? It's part of our family now. I have not named it. I don't know if it's a boy or girl, because people do. They name their sourdough. They have these funny puns. They'll make names that are like star names, but they're like they have the word like dough or like yeast or like they're just like no pun intended, but like pun intended. But anyway, so this is my sourdough starter. You can see it is like if you're listening, you can't see, but if you're on YouTube, you can see it is like beautiful. It's amazing. Look at that. Look at that. Okay. So anyway, I started it a month ago. I've been making, my mom is obsessed with the cinnamon buns that I've been making. Like she's like gonna go into a cinnamon bun coma. I really think she's going to. I made my first, okay, I made a loaf of sourdough bread a couple weeks ago and I just wasn't proud of it. So I didn't even, we just like ate it and was like, whatever, nobody talked about it. I don't even know if I told you it was sourdough bread because I was like, this is not very good. But I made a loaf for Matt for his weekend away with a huge crock pot of venison chili, and I sent it up. And I didn't cut into it, but I really wanted to. And I was like, please just send me pictures when you cut into this and let me know. I want to know the consistency, the taste, and what did everybody think?
Yeah, so everybody loved it.
Are you being honest?
Yeah, for sure. A couple of the guys wanted to see if they could get starter.
Yeah? I will ship it to them. I have it already dehydrated. I've been dehydrating it because I'm like, if I ever kill this, I need a backup plan. So I have like two full quart jars of dehydrated starter already.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really, really good.
Yeah, and so so now if you know about sourdough starter, like one loaf of bread, like so Matt was like, I don't understand why anybody would spend this much time making it because it's like a 4-day process. And he's like, why? But if you think about it, thousands of years ago, or 1,000 years ago, hundreds of years ago, they were always in the kitchen, right? So like day one, they would start the sourdough process, and then day two, they would move on to the next step, but then they would start another loaf. And so they always had, process of it going. And so that's why it never seemed like a daunting task. But I have another loaf that's been sitting in my fridge fermenting for 2 days. So we're going to make it tomorrow for dinner. But I started it 3 days ago. It's really weird, but it's really cool. And my favorite part is when you have sourdough starter, you need to feed it like daily or keep it in your fridge if you're only going to feed it like once a week or something like that. I have not refrigerated mine. I keep it on my counter. And so every single day I feed it and I discard it. So when I feed it, you add, flour and water. I don't do measurements either. So if you're like me and are put off by the whole sourdough like measurement thing, I will help you and I will post a video of how you don't need to measure because I have not measured. I literally just put a funnel on top of this jar. I pour flour in it and I pour filtered water in and I mix it every day and that's all I do. I don't use a scale because that is something that I literally refuse to do. Like I am not about that life. I can't do it. So every day, like tomorrow I'm going to wake up and this is going to be like kind of settled now because it won't be active. And I'm going to take some out of it. I'm either going to dehydrate it or I'm going to use some of that discard to make something that is not sourdough bread. And like, that's where you get all your pastries and your cakes and your pancakes and things like that from the discard. And if I wanted to make a loaf of bread, I would feed it with water and flour. I'd let it rise and get all bubbly. And then I would mix it real quick and take that. And that is what you use for the sourdough bread. And it's really exciting. So I'm still learning. I'm super novice to this, but I have a feeling we're going to have some really cool recipes in the future. But let you finish today with the Self-Reliant Sunday. Do you have anything for us today?
Yeah, so, I think over the weekend here, it was funny while only being away for a couple of days, a lot of time is, when I'm hunting or fishing and it's like, well, I could have been getting this done. I could have been getting that done. There's 1,000 projects at home.
Yeah, but it's good for you to get away.
That need to get done, but also at the same time that recognizing that I'm fortunate to do that, and finding that peace is something that I especially find in the woods where, I get those feelings of, could have been home right now, could have been working on this, that, or the other. We've got a small engine tore apart that needs to get rebuilt, all these different things, right? And, I think that when those opportunities do present themselves to make the most of them is something that I think is important, and understanding that they might come up in small things. We don't necessarily need to have a weekend away to have that moment where you can actually be grateful for what we have, the opportunities that we have. Um, Being out in the middle of Pennsylvania and in some of the most beautiful country that there is, it's really easy to just be like, okay, yeah, this is amazing. But I think those opportunities are there multiple times a day. And so just taking that moment, just, recognizing what you really should be grateful for.
Absolutely.
It's important.
I'm grateful for you.
Me too.
I love you.
Love you.
Sorry, PDA. Okay, so thank you for being with us today. We really appreciate it. And we're really sorry that we were gone for a week. Keeping up, and we're going to be totally honest with you, keeping up, a podcast and a blog and all the social media, it's hard, but this is something that we really feel on our hearts. I started Faith Homestead, over a year ago, and it was something that I really thought was important to just bring, the way that our lifestyle is and our goals and our Christian values and the way we want to raise our children and live our life. We want to show other people because we know that you guys are out there and that you have the same, thoughts and the same, you're being pulled by God in the same direction that we are. And so we do apologize for not being here last week, but we just want to let you know that we're not going anywhere, and we really look forward to seeing you next week. So with that, we hope you guys have a wonderful, productive week. God bless.